Good evening. I'd like to call this evening's board meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance
Tacoma Public Schools acknowledges that we are on the traditional, ancestral, and historical lands of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Puyallup Tribe. This acknowledgement serves as a first step in honoring our nearest tribal neighbors and partners who have inhabited this region since time immemorial, and to whom we give thanks for allowing us passage to their lands. We shall intentionally create inclusive and respectful partnerships that honor indigenous cultures, histories, identities, and socio-political realities. General Counsel Benroe, could you please call the roll?
President Strozer,
Here.
Vice President McElroy,
here.
Director Bombright,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Director Leon will be here, and Director Keating has an excused absence. Moving forward to agenda item number 5, adoption.
I move the agenda.
Second?
It's been moved in second. Either one of y'all got questions about this?
No.
Nope.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes. Moving on to agenda item number 6, recognition of staff, students, and community. Item 6.1, state holidays and civic observances.
Yes, we have one civic observance in the month of March, and that's Cesar Chavez Day, which is recognized on March 31st. So Cesar Chavez Day is celebrated to honor Cesar Chavez, a labor leader who fought for the rights of farm workers in the 1960s and 1970s. Cesar Chavez organized social justice movements that helped farm workers gain better wages and working conditions. His commitment to activism for agricultural workers led to lasting change, which has continued to benefit laborers until today. And that's a legislatively recognized day, not a state holiday, so we would, there's no buildings closed or days off. And that's what we have for March.
Thank you. Moving forward to agenda item number 7, which is a superintendent's report. 7.1, student representatives report to the board. Anna?
Hi, I'm Anna Palaki. I'm student representative from Stadium High School. And in the past month, we've been pretty busy. We had our annual Mr. Stadium / our senior talent show. And it's basically where our male seniors or any senior can just share talent and then like a pageant almost. And they'll answer a question and there'll be a couple competitions. And it was a really good event and a great student turnout and staff turnout. And all the donations that were given are going to our new class of 2025 scholarship that we're going to offer this year for students to apply to. And then we are also planning a multicultural assembly, which will happen next Friday. And we are reaching out to like local businesses that they can help support this assembly and to help us have a great event. Our juniors are also holding our annual TOLO / spring formal next Saturday. And we're just rallying together as a school, trying to get staff and students out to it. This was the first time this year our creative writing club decided to start, it's called The Bard, and it's just like a little book of all different students' writings, jokes, poems, different ways that they can showcase what they enjoy doing. And so it was a great thing that they hand out to all students and staff to look at. And then we had a couple athletes that competed at state for boys swim and dive and then for wrestling, and they did really well. We had one a guy that took second in an event, and then we had a girl that took top 5. So we're just really proud of how our students are doing. Thank you.
Good job, Anna. Thank you. Agenda item number 8, unless you have more on agenda item number 7.
I just want to thank all of our staff that helped do Read Across America last week. We had an opportunity to go to a couple different schools. It was wonderful. I want to congratulate the Silas Unified basketball team. They won the state championship over at Wenatchee. It was a great accomplishment. Got a chance to graduate one of our students today from Raymond Hall. Director Bonbright, Director Keating was there with me, and it was a great day there. Spring sports have kicked off. Great chance to get outside, get some activities, still opportunities. If you're an athlete, want to get out there, and lots of plays and musicals during this time of year. So please go out and support our kids in those opportunities as well. So thank you.
Sure. Agenda item number 8 is the staff report to the board. Item 8.1 is the proposed strategic plan goals for 2025 through 2035.
Oh, there we go. Good afternoon, board. I'm Tanisha Jumper, Director of Communications. Oh, excuse me, Chief Communications Officer. So the last time I was here, I was presenting on the beginning of the strategic plan. I presented this timeline of when things would be done. As you can see, we're here in March. I did give the update in January just to the board in your study session, and today I'm giving you the full just update on where we're at so far. To date, you guys have, I did the initial presentation on September 26th. We did a study session October 17th. On the board retreat on December 10th, we did a lot of work around the vision, setting the vision and understanding what the goals are. We did a survey in January 24th. We opened up a survey through February 9th, which I'll show you the results to in a few moments. We did another board study session in February. And then after that meeting, you guys got some homework, and so I'm in the process of reviewing that homework now. This is a quick outline of the survey. It was released on January 24th. We put it in the newsletter on the 26th. 27th, we actually texted to parents and let them know that it was out there. We put it in the staff newsletter and the family newsletter, published on social media to get broader community input, and then members of cabinet and other people emailed to stakeholders that were related to us about it. We got a very good response. We got 2,200 responses, and as you can see, more than half of those were parents. Some of those were dual, like they were parents and staff, or parents and other things, but mostly parents. Not going to go through all of this data because you guys have seen this before, but out of our responses, the things people cared about were personal and physical safety, cultural, these are our values, personal and physical safety, cultural respect and inclusiveness, equitable resources and access, and anti-racism as currently done in Policy 1600. We talked about what would a graduate look like. If someone left TPS, what would that look like? We asked these questions, and some of the things we got back were critical thinker, effective communicator, resilient and adaptable. When we talked about what would we like to see in the adults in our system, and a lot of times we tend to talk about teachers, but we talked about everyone. Every person in this district who touches a kid, we want them to have certain qualities and values, and ethical and trustworthy, a student-centered advocate, mentor or coach, and connected and relatable, excuse me. And then the system, how we are all working together, how we're all connected inside the schools and outside the schools. And so, families want effective communication, and staff want effective communication. We want to be student-centered, safe and supportive, creating a collaborative culture and accountability. So that led us to the statement of the goals, which the superintendent will ask for approval later on today. So academic achievement. Students are ready to learn, and teachers are prepared and resourced to teach them. Students have equitable access to preschool programs and academic and elective programs throughout the elementary and secondary schools that challenge, engage, and develop them. Staff create real-world connections that relate to student interests, and students graduate with skills, experience, and knowledge that prepare them for life after high school. Goal 2, partnership and participation. Tacoma Public Schools creates an ecosystem where community shows up for students. Families are valued, informed, and supported as key partners in their students' education. Students are engaged in a broad range of extracurricular activities. Community partners and organizations provide opportunities and experience to students that keep them engaged, safe, healthy before, during, and after school. We develop and nurture partnerships that benefit the entire community. Safe and supported. We think holistically about the needs of all people within our ecosystem. We create safe spaces, we create spaces where students and staff are safe, supported, and valued. Student voice is valued in decision-making. Students have the support they need, access to food, transportation, and caring adults to navigate the school system. Students are able to identify a trusted adult. Staff are ethical and trustworthy, creating a culture of accountability. We share our spaces with community partners, organizations, and neighbors. So today is the first reading of the goals. On March 27th, we'll come back for final adoption of the goals. Benchmarks will be developed in April, and the first reading of the benchmarks scheduled for April 27th. Second reading of benchmarks April 27th, and potential board adoption of benchmarks on May 8th. Do you have any questions?
No?
We'll adjust the April
Yeah,
calendar to the first reading and second reading, so
Yeah,
there's a
that was-
minor adjustment in there.
Yeah.
Confusing to me, thank you.
Good.
I'd just like to say, great job. This has been a really exciting experience to work with you, Tanisha, on this and the team. And I personally love the way that the goals are phrased and how inclusive they are, but also how, kind of high-level demanding they are. We're not taking a seat in the back. We're stepping forward and pushing all of our students, our families, our community to be the best we can be. So thank you for the phrasing and the way this has all worked out.
Okay, thank you.
Solid. Thank you, Tanisha.
Do I do?
Good?
Yep.
Solid. All right, moving forward to agenda item number 9, which is members of the public wishing to address the board. I did see a few blue cards, so I'll dive into this novel of reading. School board members encourage public participation. Your civil input is appreciated. Board members will not respond to your comments during the meeting. The superintendent or a designee will follow up with you after the meeting if action is needed. Instead of speaking at a meeting, you may also send an email to the board at board@tacoma.k12.wa.us. Please contact the board office in advance of the meeting for disability accommodations. Under Board Policy 1430, public comment, the board president may terminate an individual's comments when the allotted time has passed and may interrupt the speaker to require the same standard of civility that the board imposes on itself. Examples of uncivil comments include comments that are libelous or slanderous under a legal standard, are unwarranted invasion of privacy, are obscene or indecent pursuant to the Federal Communications Act or any rule or regulation of the Federal Communications Commission, violate school district policy or procedure related to harassment, intimidation, bullying, or discrimination, incite an unlawful act on school premises, or violate a lawful school regulation, or create a material and substantial disruption of the orderly operation of the board meeting. The board as a whole has the final decision in determining the appropriateness of all such rulings and can maintain order by removing those who are disruptive. However, the board recognizes the distinction between uncivil discourse, which it will not tolerate, and comments about the board, district, and/or staff that are negative yet still civil in nature. The board will exercise its authority to maintain order in a content-neutral manner. There are 2 ways you can give comment. Option number 1 is verbal. The general counsel will call your name when it's your turn to address the school board. Please speak into the microphone. You may have up to 3 minutes to share your comments. Or if there are a large number of speakers, time may be limited at the president's discretion. Option number 2 is written comment. And I don't know if we have any written submitted this evening. We have none.
Not tonight.
Okay, so we can jump into verbal comments.
Yes, as you just read, under policy 1430, if we have a large number of speakers at your discretion, you may keep the 3 minutes, or you may want to go to 2. So that is the president's discretion on that.
Do
We
we
have
have a whole
13 speakers this evening.
2 minutes, please.
We have 13
You
total.
got 13?
Yes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2? Nice. So we have a couple speakers that'd like to come up together. So if we can have Emily Hassenlater come up, Lillian Hassenlater come up, and James Blace come up, please. And that'll be followed by Aaron Minershagen.
Hi, I'm Emily Hassenleder, and I'm here to talk about Bernie Elementary School.
2 minutes.
First, I'd like to say that there's a lot of things wrong with our school as far as the building and property that it is on. The school is not big enough to house all of our students. We don't have a field. There's not adequate parking for staff, let alone visitors. There's been a water issue in the past with a pre-existing building. They've tried to fix it, it's still an issue. And the main reason I came here today, though, is to talk to you about a sewer smell that was so strong Monday that students were going home feeling ill. And that's not okay. They deserve a safe, healthy environment to learn. It has been brought to my attention that this has been an issue since the school opened 4 years ago. It might not be every day, it might come and go. I don't know all the details, but I know I had to come get my child from school Monday at like 11:30 in the morning. That's 2.5 hours after school started because she felt so ill she could not stay there. And I've brought my daughter, I've brought one of her classmates. I believe there's another classmate here that's also going to speak. So my time is up and I will let them talk.
Can I just say, I missed if you said what school this was. Is it Bernie?
Bernie Elementary
Yeah,
School.
That's what I thought. You're right.
Your name, yeah.
Hi, my name is James Blaze. I'm from Bernie Elementary, and I'm concerned about the water there. Near in the round building, we have some pretty disgusting water, and our teacher, Miss Rowe, she brought in a water bottle from it, a clear one, and she showed us it, and it was all like yellow and filthy, and for there, we couldn't drink from our fountains in our classroom, so we would all have to go at a certain time outside to drink, and it's taking away stuff because most of us, I don't have a water bottle that I could use, but I feel like we should be able to have our water fountains clean enough for us to drink. My teacher had she told like the people, the district, that the water's bad and they haven't done anything about it. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
And Monday I did go home feeling sick to the point that like I had to sit down and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Hello, my name is Lillian Hostenlater. So Monday, we were going to PE and I smelled that smell, and a bunch of our classmates in our class got really sick. I think 8 or 9 of us went home that day. I went home and I still kind of felt sick after like an hour or so, and I don't feel sick anymore, but I can also still faintly smell the smell. And one of our classmates, Kata, she has been gone since Monday, and today's Thursday. She's still not here, and she says that she's been feeling sick, like really sick, and when I did get sick, my head was hurting. I had a headache. My throat was burning and it was scratchy. And my stomach, it did not feel good. And that's also the symptoms that my other classmates have been having. Also, the water doesn't taste good. It's like, I feel like it might not be good because it has like this weird taste to it. If I was gonna describe the taste, it would kind of be like maybe like a sour type of like taste. So the water I think is dirty, and the smell, it made a bunch of people sick. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Our next speaker is Erin Minershagen, followed by Angel Morton.
Hi, I'm Erin Minershagen, parent of a kindergartner and first grader at Whittier Elementary.
Shaken.
We have kids together at the same school. But I came here to say two things, and I think I'm going to say a third too. First of all, we are really excited for our rebuild. We appreciate the funds that have been allocated to our school, but we're a little bit concerned about the speed at which the process is moving. It feels like this was an idea from some people a long time ago, and there's this ball rolling, and we're just going to go with it and hope for the best, but not really think about long-term effects, long-term, like forward thinking. Recently, Wainwright, the elementary school, the intermediate school near us, the siding fell off the building and it had to be replaced over the summer, probably a huge cost. And their gym is 2 feet too short. It was built maybe like 10 years ago or something like that. So we're worried that our school rebuild is moving so quickly, we will have issues like that in the future. So we just kind of hope for things to slow down, hope for them to talk to parents a little bit more. We'd love for 4th and 5th grade to be considered to come back because we're the only elementary school in the district that's K-3. So we lose out on a lot of the things that 4th and 5th graders bring to us. So that's the first thing. Please consider 4th and 5th grade and slowing it down a bit. Second thing, a lot of parents are really concerned about busing all the way across town to the McKinley site when there's another site that's less than half the distance away. We have a lot of students who take the bus, and an hour on the bus for a kindergartner is way too long. My first grader has a hard time holding her urine for more than like 30 minutes. So something to consider. Please consider families that are not able to drive their kids to and from school, which is a big part of our population. Thirdly, I think there's a big population here who's going to talk about girls' sports, and I just want to say that I really want to advocate for inclusivity in girls' sports. My children have friends who are trans girls, and they are girls. They deserve to play with their classmates. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Angel Morton, followed by Jeremy Brown.
Good evening, members of the board, members of the cabinet. Good to be back with you again after a few years being gone. I wanted to talk tonight about the bargain that Tacoma Education Association and Tacoma School District are involved in. TEA is united for our students. As we come to the bargaining table, we are focused on resources for special education, investment in early education, safe schools, and effective caseload and class sizes. We're focused on getting the families and the kids the things they need to have a successful academic and just growing up experience. Yesterday at the bargaining table, the district wiped out our 4 goals with their proposal. Financials typically are the last thing bargained, but yesterday the district opened with financials, and the proposals were shocking in the breadth of cuts to the CBA language. We know that the state isn't providing enough financial support to do the things that need to be done, but the bargaining proposals from the district yesterday were shameful in their lack of support for our most vulnerable students. Instead of gutting funding for special educators and increasing caseload language, we need to find ways to make sure that our educators have the tools and the resources they need to support our students. Educators work hard to make sure students have what they need, and we often use our own time and our own resources to make that happen. I would have people here with me tonight, but our educators are doing late night conferences in support of our students. We are just looking for creative ways to problem solve. TEA is committed to standing united in supporting educators who support our most vulnerable students, and we need to move ahead in that direction. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jeremy Brown, followed by Gretchen Stockman.
Good evening, members of the board, and thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak today. I come before you as a concerned member of our community, eager to discuss a crucial issue that impacts the integrity of sports and the rights of our young female athletes, the protection and support of girls' sports. Across Washington State, a significant movement is growing, with 23 school districts already stepping forward to safeguard girls' sports. From Linden to Quincy, communities like ours are making a stand by passing amendments and resolutions that ensure a fair and equal competitive environment for our daughters. These districts are not just supporting girls' sports, they're affirming their commitment to equity, equality, and the well-being of students. Tonight, I urge our district to join this important movement by supporting WIAA Amendments 7 and 8. These amendments are not just numbers on a page, they are statements of our values. They reinforce the message that every young athlete, regardless of their background or identity, deserves a level playing field. Why is this important? Because sports are more than just games. They're about learning discipline, building confidence, and developing leadership skills. For many girls, sports are a pathway to scholarships, higher education, and greater opportunities in life. When we ensure fairness in sports, we protect these opportunities. We send a clear message to every young girl in our community that they're valued, that their efforts are recognized, and that we believe in their potential. As board members, you have the direct authority over district athletic directors and superintendents. You have the power to influence the future of our sports programs and to champion the cause of equality and fairness. By confirming that our school vote supports WIA Amendments 7 and 8, you're taking a stand for the values we cherish in our community. To those who might wonder if it's too late to make a change, let me assure you it is never too late to do the right thing. By acting now, we can join a growing list of communities that are not just reacting to a trend, but are leading the way to a more inclusive and equitable future. In closing, I appeal to your sense of justice and your commitment to our children. Let us be a district that leads, that protects, and that empowers. Let us ensure that the legacy we leave behind is one of strength, fairness, and equality for all athletes, regardless of gender. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to seeing our district stand with the others who have chosen to protect and celebrate the achievements of our young female athletes.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Our next speaker is Gretchen Stockman, followed by Kristen Bridgen Brown.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Gretchen Stockman. I stand before you not just as an advocate, but also as a mother and a therapist in the community that provides support and care for adolescents in our community. I'm deeply invested in the future of our young athletes and their rights to fair and safe competition. Today, I wish to address a concern that affects the hearts of girls and women's equality in sports. If you believe in true equality for girls and women, if you believe that girls and women's sports matter, and if you want our daughters to have the same opportunities that many of us were fortunate to have, then it's time for us to take a stand. It's crucial to recognize that allowing biological males to compete in girls' sports is neither fair nor safe. This is not a matter of opinion, but a biological and competitive reality. It is not bigoted to assert the rights of our daughters to compete on a level playing field. It's not unjust to demand that our daughters' locker rooms and bathrooms remain spaces where they feel safe and comfortable, nor is it unreasonable to expect that their hard-earned titles, scholarships, and opportunities to excel should be preserved against unfair advantages. We are tasked with a complex challenge to honor and respect the rights of all students, including transgender athletes, without compromising the safety, privacy, and competitive equity of girls' sports. This is not an insurmountable task. It requires a thoughtful, respectful dialogue and solutions that do not simply sideline the needs of our daughters. I see the differences in physicality, competitiveness, and dynamics in sports. These differences are not socially constructed, but are ingrained in our biology. Acknowledging them isn't discriminatory, it's a call to preserve the spirit and fairness of women's sports. I urge you, as members of the school board, to find a way that respects everyone's rights without creating an environment that inherently disadvantages or endangers another group. Our goal should be to enhance inclusivity without diminishing the rights of biological females.
Appreciate you.
I'll wrap this up. Thank you for your attention and for considering the voices of parents and athletes
you.
alike.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Kristen Bridgen Brown, followed by Brooke Riley.
Last week, or the last time you all met, you were discussing the budget, and I understand that the budget is a huge issue right now. And this issue with women's sports is affecting that. So I stand before you asking our superintendent to support and play the critical role in administering these funds. The game between, I don't know what else to call it, but the state superintendent refusing to give state funds to school districts that decide to protect and preserve biological women's sports versus the federal funds that we are losing if we don't. We're caught in between. And I don't think that it's fair. I think that our board, we have a prominent school board and district in the state, and we together can make a difference on this issue. I'm asking for transparency and fairness on this issue, and that we avoid the political rhetoric, and that we work together on this. Sports are a critical part of our educational system. You know that. Many girls participating in sports, this is not just not just a pastime. This is a step to a career or to opportunities in their future as adults. And by ensuring that sports competitions are fair and based on biological categories, we can uphold the spirit of equality and fairness that Title IX originally intended to protect. I grew up with that in place and appreciate the opportunities that were there for me. Many women in this room, women standing here, sitting here, we need to keep that in place for our daughters. And I appreciate your time. There are laws in place that can protect our board, that can protect you, and I just hope that we can work together to get the funds that we need.
I
Thank
didn't
you.
catch your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kristen Bridgen Brown.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brooke Riley, followed by Sarah Garriot.
Hello, I'm Brooke Riley. I'm a senior at the Science and Math Institute, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Elements of Education program. So we, for a little bit of context, we run a lot of the Beyond the Bell or Club B programs that are in a lot of Tacoma public schools, those after-school clubs. And I just really wanted to talk about the amazing opportunity that has been built over these past few years into our school district. Students have been given the opportunities to really be leaders in their own community, and to students just a couple years younger than them. Personally, I've served in this program for 2.5 years now, and I've done a whole variety of things. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. People asked me that question all the time. For a while, it was like a veterinarian or like a princess or a doctor, you know, all those kinds of things. And now I'm going to college in Idaho, Brigham Young University, with the opportunity to go into the medical field, helping and supporting people and teaching people, because I've gotten the opportunity to with this program. I just want to personally thank the families and the school district for the opportunity that they've had to offer these programs to their students, and to allow these high school students to really grow into themselves and be such a crucial part of our community. And I just want to thank Elements of Education, John Kettler, the Tacoma Public School District, and the board, of course, for allowing opportunities like these to be among our school district, really teaching students what it is to be a part of this Tacoma community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sarah Garriot, followed by Jasmine McGee.
Thank you. Good evening. I appreciate the French pronunciation, but it's just Garriot is fine. It's okay. I thought my husband was French at first, too, when I first saw his name. All right. My name is Sarah Garriott, and I am a concerned auntie of 3 nieces in the Safford Elementary School here. As you've heard tonight, I also watched the February 27th board meeting and heard Superintendent Garcia's concern, and when he quoted, "No public school will survive," that was concerning to me when he's talking about funding. And then I reflected on the Tacoma School Board report card from OSPI that 29,010 students in this year and $20,400 per student, and yet only about 30% of those students are meeting math standards and 42% are meeting ELA standards. My niece said to me, "Auntie Sarah, I'm not doing very well in math," and I said, "Unfortunately, you're not the only one." And I told her, only 30% of the kids in your school district right now are meeting math standards. It's maybe not you. Maybe it's not you that's struggling. Maybe the school district needs to realign and think about how they are teaching math, go back to actual numbers, leave Common Core alone, stop obsessing over the woke agenda of DEI, et cetera, that is costing us federal funding. And these ideas about our girls' sports, it's the same thing. I have these nieces, they don't want boys in their locker rooms. They want to play sports. My niece is loving track. She's just actually a 6th grader. The others are in Stafford Elementary, her sisters. So I am very concerned about this. Last night I went down to Olympia and listened to the state legislature as they are overturning the Parents' Bill of Rights that 450,000 parents signed for public schools. Will you please contact our legislature and tell them to support the Parents' Bill of Rights? We need trust, again, in our public school system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jasmine McGee, followed by Jessica McGee.
Hi, my name is Jasmine McGee, and I'm here to talk about the sewage smell at Bernie Elementary. Like my other classmates said, multiple of my classmates left home feeling really sick. The nurse didn't do anything. The only thing she did was send us back to class. When I left school, I was feeling so sick that I almost threw up. I left school with my other classmates, Leisha and Kata has been gone since Thursday. I don't know how she's feeling now, but she's been gone since Monday, and it's now Thursday. I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry.
Good job. You're fine. I'm Jessica. This is my daughter. She was out of school for 2 days because of the smell, and the teacher is actually the one that texted me and asked me to come and get her. And then she also did a follow-up text the next morning and said that several of the other students that left that day were also out still. I'm not sure how many of them stayed out as long. I know she's had a headache almost every morning since then. And then the other issue to address would be the water, which you've heard quite a bit about that. But one thing I didn't hear about tonight is the crosswalk at 76th and Sheridan. It is terrible. There's no stop. It's a bus line. When we have 2 crossing guards, people don't blow through the kids and whatever. But we don't always have 2 crossing guards. And when there's only one, I've watched several people almost get hit, and there's several accidents there throughout the year. So that's all I want to talk about. You good?
I think so.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Our last speaker for this evening will be Dawn Land.
do I need to press a button here or anything? There's a remote here.
No,
Oh,
you're
okay, okay, we're good. All right, I want to be sure I'm doing all I'm supposed to do. Hi, my name is Dawn Land, and I wanted to tell you that girls deserve fair sports. The organization called Boys versus Women collects data on how male high school athletes will beat female Olympic athletes in track and field competitions. For example, in the 100 meter, 200 meter, 400 meter, and 800 meter races, none of the female Olympic athletes' performances met the qualifying time for those same events for high school males. That's really profound if you ask me. In the 400 meter hurdles, the high school boys performed better than the female Olympic athletes, despite having taller hurdles to clear. Women have fought long and hard to have our own spaces and our own sports. When women and girls are forced to compete against men and boys, women lose the opportunities that have taken 50 years for us to build. We cannot grant special rights to one group of people when doing so takes rights away from women and girls. We all want equal opportunities for all. It should not be a controversial statement to say that girls deserve fair sports. Please, this is Women's History Month. Please honor the women and girls in Tacoma Public Schools by keeping all males out of girls' sports. Thank you.
All right, that concludes public comment for this evening.
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second?
Yes.
Consent agenda's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments, or concerns about it? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I don't hear any opposed. Moving on, agenda item number 11 is policy matters. 11.1, first reading of revised policy 2412, diplomas for veterans.
The General Counsel, on behalf of the Director of Schools, recommends the Board of Directors review the draft of revised policy 2412 and provide feedback before a second reading. Real quick, this proposed policy comes to us by way of a community member, a local veteran. There's been some changes to the law that underpins policy 2412, which expands the eligibility criteria for veterans who are qualifyingly discharged to receive diplomas for their service if they pulled them out of high school. So this first reading just copies some of the changes from the law that expands that eligibility criteria. And so we're just looking for feedback before that second reading. Equity policy review will be scheduled for the first week in April, and then we'll bring you the second reading after that.
Nice. Any questions, comments, concerned about it? All right, all those in favor, or has it been moved?
Nope,
No
it's a
need- no
first
need to
reading,
vote.
you don't need to
Okay.
move it on.
Agenda item number 12, financial report. The district's monthly financial report will be presented, and here comes Roz.
Here she comes. Well, good evening. Thank you for the time on the agenda this evening. We do a monthly financial report and try to provide you with information about information that's relevant to our current financial situation or things that are coming up or legislative actions, what have you. Tonight, I want to talk to you about our projections. So on a monthly basis, we in the finance office work to identify where we think we're going to end the year. In the similar fashion that you might do for your budget, you look at what kind of money you have coming in, you look at all the expenditures that you need to pay for, and then you make a determination as to whether or not you're going to have enough resources to cover the costs of what you're doing every day. We do something very similar for our very large budget. And what we're finding is that we have a disturbing trend that we are working to address. We've talked to you about this in the past. In fact, for the last several months, we've been talking to you about this, and we've been talking to you about this for all of the last year. But because of where we're at in our financial projections, I think it's important for us to have a conversation with you and the public around what the implications of what we're seeing could lead to. We want to be clear with you that our expectation is that we're not going to get to the position that I'm going to talk to you about, but that we might be in a position that might happen, and so we want to be prepared for everybody to understand what that means. And what I'm talking about are binding conditions. Binding conditions are a level of insolvency. We are working our way away from that, but what we're finding ourselves in a position of right now is our revenues that we're projecting for the year. We're budgeted at $577.8 million, and right now we think that they're coming in at $562.2 million. We have several different factors that are impacting that. We haven't been receiving as many grants or unexpected resources as we have in prior years. We have some budget items where we thought we might be able to receive some revenues into the budget where we had some plans to change our activities, and those did not come to fruition in this year. And things like our transportation revenue as an example. We budgeted to have an increase in our transportation revenue. They do a true up from our budget to our actuals in February, even though we had an increase in ridership and an increase in expenses for the last year. Our transportation revenue decreased. That was an unexpected activity. We're working to try and understand how it decreased. We've talked to you a number of times about our very nebulous financial formula that comes for the transportation revenue, the allocation from the state. And so we're working through trying to understand the implications to that. What are the cohorts that they're using? What are the coefficients that they're using in this algorithm that they've created? It's always been somewhat nebulous, and even though we've used a format that the state provides to project your revenue based on what trends you're seeing and what factors you see in your district, that didn't come to pass as expected. So those are some examples of where revenues are off. I would say if you look back at our historical revenue projections and our trending for revenues, we've been 99% accurate with the budget that we've produced. So this is definitely an anomaly from what we've seen in our budgeting projections in prior years. And it could still change. We do these projections now, and this is a representation of everything that we know at this moment in time. If it were to happen and we were at the end of the year right now, this is where we would be. So there's still a number of months left. I think we still have 6 months left of finances that will help us tie into where we actually end the year. If you look at our expenditures, we budgeted for $572.4 million, and we're looking to expend somewhere around $574.7 million. That means that our expenditures are exceeding our revenues, and they are exceeding what we planned for in our budget. And again, this is an extrapolation of everything we know right now, where it would be at the end of the year. So we haven't already expended that. But if things were to continue on the trend that we have at this moment in time, that's where we would end. It's important to note, too, that when we're looking at those trends in the finances, we're using historical trends, we're using current information about how much has been actually expended, plus anything that's been tagged to be expended. We call those encumbrances in the system. So it's basically like a commitment that says, I've flagged this, I know I'm going to spend it, or I plan to spend this, so count this as expended, as an example. And in prior years, we have expended differently, and we have committed our funds differently. So we've asked people to put in those encumbrances much sooner this year, as soon as they know that those encumbrances exist. And so we're seeing some patterns that don't necessarily look like patterns that we've had in the past, but we're applying similar principles to that. And so that could also be a reason why our expenditures are trending the way that they are. But we still have to act with caution and use this as a risk-approached philosophy. Yes, Elizabeth? Sorry, Dr. Bombite?
Just for clarification, it's my understanding that it's not because we're willy-nilly overspending. It's because things that we're like nutrition, the food for the kids and all that the cost has gone up.
Correct.
And yet we're getting no increase from the state, or the Fed.
So we have less room in our staffing budgets than we have in the past. So we don't have any flexibility in our staffing costs like we maybe have in years past. We're seeing unexpected expenditures, settling of insurance claims. Our insurance costs are going up. Our utility costs are going up. Our fuel costs have increased. And those are things that we can't necessarily control if we're going to provide the services that we have been continuing to provide. We are working then to control things on the other side of things that we do have a locus of control over, changing contracts, eliminating staff that are vacated, like positions that are vacated. So we are trying to make eliminations through attrition. We've pulled back a bunch of discretionary. I talked to you last week about the clawbacks of discretionary. We've gone into people's budgets, and if they haven't expended it or committed it, and it's just sitting there as a vacant expense, I'm going to call it, we're pulling those dollars back and we're saying, I'm sorry, you're not going to have the opportunity to expend this without asking for those resources because they're critical, and you have to explain why.
So But also, it's also my understanding that the legislature is not, I mean, they're in session, they're still negotiating some things, but they have and their budgets haven't come out finally yet, but what we're looking at is a flat, at this point. They're talking about a flat, no increase in funding. So the increases, the Senate and the House are not in planning to cover the increases in expenditures for the common things that we pay for.
So an example would be meals. So we actually are being reimbursed 50 cents less than we were last year.
Yeah.
So the food costs are going up. Is Kari in the room?
He is.
Kari, is that accurate?
I think it's 50 cents per meal that we are short, and the federal reimbursement rate has declined, but it hasn't declined by 50 cents.
So
But
we're getting reimbursed less. And the food costs are going up. So that's an example.
So these are some of the things that play into that.
Contributing to our expenditures going up and the revenue going down.
Thank you.
So we're in the midst of a number of mitigating strategies and trying to prevent ourselves from being in a situation where we do end the year with that $1.3 million negative that you see there. What that represents is we have overexpended our revenues for the year, and we have exceeded what we had in the savings account, which is our fund balance account. That negative number would put us in a binding condition. And a binding condition, I'll come back to those slides, excuse me. A binding condition is basically insolvency of a school district. When you have a deficit fund balance projected, or where your revenues are not sufficient to keep up with your expenditures and you don't have enough savings over a 3-year period, you will be placed in binding conditions by the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. And if that were to occur, a financial oversight committee would be appointed by the ESD, the Educational Service District, and the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, and they would come in and they would present plans for how we would go about balancing our budget and getting ourselves into a financial plan that is sustainable for a longer period of time. And that could look like opening collective bargaining agreements, eliminating contracts that we have outstanding. It could be eliminating staff members. And they don't do this for us. They come in and they give us recommendations and provide guidance, but then the expectation is that we will adhere to the plans that they're suggesting. Of course, our goal is to avoid binding conditions. And what we have seen, if we look at last year's projections, we started the year with $17.2 million in fund balance. And right out of the gate, we had a negative projection in our fund balance. But through the mitigating strategies that we put in place, we were able to correct that significantly, and we were able to end the year at $11.2 million. Now, $11.2 million is only 2% of our fund balance reserve requirement, which you have set at a 5% reserve policy amount. So it's not where we wanted it to be, but it was still positive, and we were at least in the green last year when we ended. And so what we're seeing in the current year for our projections, we ended the year last year at 11.1. We set a goal internally to get to 16.7 million by saving additional dollars this year. And we're finding right away out of the gate that we weren't seeing that happening in our projections. And it wasn't until January that we started to see that trending even in a more significant level. So our intent is to correct that yet again. We'll have less flexibility to be able to do that we had last year. However, we're implementing many of the same strategies, which would include not hiring for non-critical positions, reducing discretionary spending where we haven't actually expended it already, and then where we have already encumbered it or committed it, we're going in and reducing contracts or eliminating contracts. We've been doing a number of those. We've identified some surplus properties yet again that we will sell. Now those dollars that we sell for property go into the capital fund and are used for buildings, but the support that's happening within that building, so perhaps custodians, can be reapplied into other buildings and filling vacancies that we have in other places in the district, so that we don't have to maintain the same level of staffing or the same level of utilities, the same level of the cost of that property. We're also evaluating program needs. We have about 15 different task forces that different cabinet members have divided and conquered to try to understand what kind of financial savings we can implement either in the current year or in the future budget year. And we're continuously working to try to become more efficient, identifying things that we no longer need to do, eliminating redundant systems where we can, and just trying to be generally more efficient in the work that we do. Of course, we will need to continue doing that work for this current year to achieve additional savings, but we will also need to do that in preparation for the future budget, which we talked a little bit about at the last board meeting. I do want to add that there are currently 6 districts that are in binding conditions and another 19 districts that are anecdotally on a watch list. We do not have that list. It's not a published list, but we've heard that there are 19 on the district. So 25 school districts out of the 295 in the state are currently in a dire financial situation. That's an epidemic at this point. In the years that I've worked in the district, 18 years that I've worked in the district, this is the first time I've ever seen anything quite like this. I've been through the fiscal crisis. I've been through McCleary. I've been through the state's budget crisis in 2012. I've been through several rounds of federal stabilization dollars, and this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this, other than the one school district, which was Vader School District, which went bankrupt and ended up being incorporated into another school district when I very first started at the district. So it does seem that things are quite different. I agree with you, Dr. Brombright, that we will not be seeing any kind of saving grace come from the legislature in what we're hearing. And I would say that a static budget is not a win for this school district for 2 reasons. One, we are not fully funded for the wages, and that's not just wages that we've offered, that's wages that the state is funding us for the people that they are funding us for. And what they allocate us to, we do not get full funding for. And so there's that, and then there's the inflationary components of all of the accompaniments that come along with running a school district. Questions or thoughts? That was my presentation for you.
Hearing none. Go ahead, Josh.
So right now we are deeply in the mitigating strategies. So I'll make that very explicit. That means that we're pulling back resources so that we do not end up in binding conditions. The spring will be very difficult. I've said this numerous times through meetings all through the fall and through the winter and now into the spring. Please contact your local legislators. It can't be flat. We have to make reductions. We'll be in that difficult spot. We will have to find ways to generate new revenues. We've talked about that. This is going to be hard. It's going to impact kids. We have guiding principles. We've been effective at following those guiding principles. We will work towards those guiding principles again this year. So we'll be back with you. We are not driving towards binding conditions. It is not a goal. We feel confident that we can navigate. One other piece that is in there, we've heard from the state, Transitional K program, as you may have heard, is that there was a question whether the state was going to fully fund it this year, even though they committed to offering it. They have indicated that they will fund it, but the money will not come on a regular cadence, so there may be a delay in the funding. So we will see that impact, but we do not know what it will look like next year. So that's another program that is could have implications in the time frame.
And just 2 more components, excuse me. Pardon me. We will have our next forecast prepared around March 20th. So we'll be updating all of this information in a pretty short order for us. And to add to the point of Dr. Garcia, we don't know what might also happen at the federal level. At this point, we've only had 1 grant that's been disrupted for playground equipment at 1 school. All of our federal funding outside of that is still fully being driven to the district, and we have not had any notification of disruption at this point in time. But that doesn't mean as things unfold with Department of Education disruptions or other executive orders that may be issued, that won't have an implication for us in the future.
Or the federal budget, just to be clear, is that
Right.
the federal budget doesn't come in. We don't typically get our Title I indications until June, July. So that makes it challenging when we're developing a budget.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, Ross. Moving on to agenda item number 13, curriculum and instruction. There is none. Agenda item number 14, business matters, none. Agenda item number 15, other business. 15.1 is the first reading of the 2025 through 2035 strategic plan goals.
The superintendent recommends the board of directors review the draft of the proposed first reading of the 2025 through 2035 strategic plan goals and provide feedback before the second reading.
I move item 15.1. Oh, yeah.
Do we move?
It's first reading,
No.
so we don't need to move it.
Yeah, so we're
Never
sorry.
mind. I was excited because I'm really excited about it.
Thank you. We're gonna move forward to agenda item number 16, board comments and reports.
I'll go first.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, I actually have 3 positive and exciting things to talk about tonight after that very sobering conversation about finances. And this is just about joyful, happy things happening for kids. And the first one was many of us were at the Lowell Elementary School groundbreaking for the new school, which was really well attended by the community, and the students were there with shovels in hand with us, throwing dirt around, and it was great. And it's just another movement forward for trying Tacoma investing in the environments in which we teach, and it's beneficial for staff, it's beneficial for students and for the communities because we share these spaces. So that was exciting. The other thing was this afternoon, as superintendent mentioned, I had the honor of graduating a single individual who's incarcerated at Raymond Hall. And I was just so proud of this young man for what he's been through. He put his head down, studied hard, worked really hard to get his degree, his diploma, while incarcerated. And I have high hopes that this will influence his way of looking forward in his life and what he wants to commit to be a better part of his community. And so that was really magical. And to see we have a partnership with the Corrections Department in Pierce County, and it is so positive to see the staff that work for the criminal justice system working with our school, Raymond Hall, which is our on-site school for the incarcerated kids at Raymond Hall. And they work together to help guide these young students, some young individuals, onto a better path. And I just want to commend and thank everyone who has anything and everything to do with helping this one student have his dream come true. So thank you for that. It was very positive and exciting to be part of. And then my third piece is this week we also had the Tacoma Education Dream Fund board meeting. And for those that may not know, the Tacoma Education Dream Fund is a new foundation specifically for raising money to help Tacoma Public School students have as many positive experiences for fun and engagement and broadening their passions as they can. And this is a new foundation. It's just getting started, so you'll hear more about it, I'm sure, in the future. But if anyone is interested in helping us get this Tacoma Foundation started with donations, we're happy to hear from those, so get those going. So, but the meeting went really well, and I think we're moving in the right direction of helping to fill in some of the gaps. Hopefully, if we can raise the money to do that, we will be filling in gaps that might happen to keep kids doing the new exciting things that the school district can't afford to do. So 3 good things today.
No large report, just to remind, we heard earlier, there's a lot of musicals going on. Stadium's having a musical, Chicago, starting next week for 2 weeks. So come enjoy that along with other schools.
I just wanted to thank my board colleagues for my excused absence at the last meeting. So at the last meeting, I was invited to St. Martin's University to speak to, actually 3 of our former graduates were there too, but as part of their BSU, and it was just awesome because it wasn't just only the BSU kids, other kiddos from their campus were there, and they're like, oh my God, when did you get on the school board? You wasn't there when I was there. I was like, well, how old are you? Yeah, I just got here, I'm new. So it's kind of cool to have that time and space to speak with some of our graduates and hear their stories about how the district touched them. And then the question that was brought to me was, why did you run for office, and why do you want to serve on the school board, and what do you like so much about Tacoma? And I told them the truth. I was just like, I didn't run because I love Tacoma, or Tacoma Public Schools. I ran because there's been a lot of harm that happens here, and when you don't have voices that represent that harm at the table, then that story gets silenced. I always talk about how my mom integrated Tacoma Public Schools. I never talk about my dad, my stepdad, who also integrated Tacoma Public Schools, and they were bused from their neighborhoods to other parts of the district, and they were laughed at, mocked, rocks thrown at them, spit on by adults in this community. As a student in this district, the most people who ever harmed me were adults, and I told them the truth, and I said, but at the end of the day, you can't fight discrimination with discrimination. You fight it with determination, and it takes a lot of bravery to come back to a place where you didn't feel seen, heard, and valued or respected, and say, I still see the value in every student, every day. I really appreciated that time, and I really also always want to commend the work of the board to move this district forward. I know that we're not all 5 of us right now, but with our students here too, I think, especially students who come back and tell their stories, it makes us better and it makes us stronger. And so I hope that we can always try to move forward with determination and not with discrimination. And I don't want anyone to ever think that I stand somewhere I don't stand. I do not stand with discrimination in any form, in any way. I've been marginalized my entire life. I've been Black my entire life. I don't need a dog whistle to know the truth. If you're talking bad about my people, I know what you're saying. So at the end of the day, I hear you. I hear you. And the people who contact me in the community, when I go visit schools, kids and parents alike are always saying, wow, how did someone like you end up in the seat that you're in? Determination. Thank you all, always, for supporting me and letting me go and tell those stories to our former students and some of our former staffers. When they hear my voice, they're like, dang, I'm so glad you're here now. Even though harm happened to me then, I know that this district is moving forward because people like you are there.
Thank you. And no report for me this evening. So agenda item number 17 is the announcement of next regular board meetings. March 27th, we'll have a 6 p.m. board meeting. April 3rd, we will have a 6 p.m. business meeting here. And with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thanks.